Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am the Comic Hero. I know that I'm a little late um, getting this up, and I know that it's already the day after Easter without you're seeing this, but I'm not going to apologize for that because the only reason that it's up so late is because I've had schoolwork to do all last week. I may be the Comic Hero, but I'm a student first. I'm a college student first, and I have said that the show's going to be every week on YouTube, but there are going to be certain days where I'm only going to be a few days late of a week. So just bear with me, and it'll all be great. Okay, I have a few things to talk about, so without further ado, let the ranting begin.
What you talking about, Willis?
The first thing I want to rant about is DC versus Marvel as far as movies, TV shows, and cartoons go. Well, I can tell you, as far as movie goes, Marvel's been killing it since 2000. Ever since they released the first X-Men movie, they have not disappointed, with the exception of about 4 or 5 movies. Some that I can think of are Daredevil, The Hulk, Elektra, and both Kick-Ass movies. Oh, and one more if you count The Punisher. That movie is just wrong. I mean, it was badly casted, badly written. Um, but other than those movies, they've just been killing it. DC has only released 5 movies since since that all got started, and only one of them, well, really, 4 of them have done well. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, and Green Lantern. Although I know some folks who kind of feel a little indifferent about Green Lantern. Um, then Man of Steel. I went out to see it when it came out last year, but there was one thing that ruined the entire movie, and that was when Superman snapped Zod's neck. First off, what in the world was Zack Snyder and whoever wrote the movie thinking? And I don't know why they wrote that in, because Superman doesn't kill. Just saying. I mean, and of course, the amazing on the Marvel side. I mean, the last movie that was great was Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I went to see. Um, in about a little less than 2 weeks, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is going to be coming out. Now, they pretty much revamped the whole Spider-Man franchise. They, but to be honest, they really didn't have to do that. At least I feel that they didn't have to do that. But anyway, in Amazing Spider-Man 2, he's not gonna go up against just one villain. He's gonna go up against 3 villains, and those 3 villains are Electro, Rhino, and the Green Goblin. And I think it. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I'm sure it's going to be fabulous nonetheless. Now, as far as TV shows goes, well, the only 2 TV shows that's been out since the turn of the century for DC have been Smallville and Arrow. I think, and to be honest, I've watched episodes of Smallville from 2001 until the series ended in 2011. Um, Arrow, I've only watched one episode, but from my understanding, it's a great show. And the episode that I watched actually had Deathstroke on it. And as far as TV shows, uh, they came out with a dud. Marvel did, and at first that was Mutant X, which had absolutely nothing to do with the Marvel universe. I mean, these were just made up characters that were on this show. Um, but only one TV show that's come out that's been great. Well, I wouldn't say great, but it's decent. Was Marvel's Agents of Shield. It For the longest time, I really did like it because all these characters that are on the show and that they're introducing, they were just made for the show. These aren't regular Marvel characters. I mean, Agent Phil Coulson was actually made for uh, Iron Man, the first Iron Man when he was in, and then along the way he was in other Marvel movies, and then ended up being a regular cast member on Agents of Shield, played by, of course, Clark Gregg. Um, but I think from what I've heard, the last two episodes of Marvel's Agents of Shield, which I've yet to watch, even though I recorded them, um, have been great ever since Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So who's to say? It it might just get better. Now with cartoons, um, it's kind of been neck and neck because on the other hand, at the turn of the century, you had on the Marvel side you had X-Men Evolution, and then on the DC side you had Justice League, and there have been other series that come out on both sides of the fence ever since. With Marvel, you had cartoons like Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Avengers Assembled and Ultimate Spider-Man, and only before that, uh, the lackluster Spectacular Spider-Man, and then also Hulk and the Agents of Smash. Excuse me, and with DC, you've also had Justice League Unlimited, Teen Titans, um, Green Lantern the animated series, Young Justice. So buy it, but with that in mind, I really can't say because it kind of because as far as the cartoon side of it goes, it's really been neck and neck. Oh, and one more cartoon I thought was awesome, although it only lasted 2 seasons when it was on a DC fence, and I'm talking about the Legion of Superheroes. I thought that show was ridiculously underrated. I mean, it was great. First seasons, both seasons, one and two. Okay, that's the only thing I'm going to rant about in this episode. So let's get to Comicology 101. This one was suggested to me by one of my classmates, Sean Dean from Homer High School, class of 2000. So then, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, class is about to be in session. Welcome to this week's segment of Comicology 101. This week, I'll be talking about the Merc with a Mouth, Deadpool. Created by artist Rob Liefeld and writer Fabian Nicieza, Deadpool made his first appearance in the pages of New Mutants number 98, published in February of 1991. Rob Liefeld, a fan of the Teen Titans, showed his new character to writer Fabian Nicieza. Upon seeing the costume and noting his characteristics, Nicieza contacted Liefeld saying, and I quote, "This is Deathstroke from the Teen Titans," end quote. Nicieza gave Deadpool the real name of Wade Wilson as an inside joke to being related to Slade Wilson, who happens to be Deathstroke's real name. In his first appearance, Deadpool was hired by Tolliver Trask to attack Cable and the New Mutants. After subsequently appearing in X-Force as a recurring character, Deadpool began making guest appearances in a number of different Marvel comics, such as The Avengers, Daredevil, and Heroes for Hire. In 1993, the character received his own miniseries titled The Circle Chase, written by Fabian Nicieza and penciled by Joe Madureira. It was a relative success, and Deadpool starred in a second self-titled miniseries written in 1994 by Mark Waid and penciled by Ian Churchill. Mark Waid later commented, and I quote, "Frankly, if I'd known Deadpool was such a creep when I agreed to write the miniseries, I wouldn't have done it. Someone who hasn't paid their crimes presents a problem for me." End quote. In 1997, Deadpool was given his own ongoing title, initially written by Joe Kelly with then newcomer Ed McGuinness as an artist. The series fully established its supporting cast, including his prison den mother, Blind Al, and his best friend, Weasel. Deadpool became an action comedy parody of the cosmic drama anti-hero heavy comics of the time. The ongoing series gained cult popularity for its unorthodox main character and its balanced angst of pop culture slapstick, and the character became less of a villain, though the element of his moral ambiguity remained. Joe Kelly noted, and I quote, "With Deadpool, we could do anything we wanted because everybody just expected the book to be canceled every 5 seconds, so nobody was paying attention, and we can get away with it." End quote. The series was taken over by Christopher Priest, who noted that he found Kelly's issues to be, quote, and I quote, "complex and a little hostile to readers like me, and that by issue number 37 he realized that it was okay to make Deadpool look stupid." End quote. Deadpool lasted until issue number 69, at which point it was replaced as a new title by Gail Simone with a similar character called Agent X in 2002. This occurred during a wide revamp of all the X-Men related comics, with Cable becoming Soldier X and X-Force becoming X-Statix. Simone noted that, and I quote, "When I took the Deadpool job, the revamp hadn't been planned, so there was a complete surprise. Thankfully, we heard about it in time to make adjustments to the early scripts." End quote. It appeared that Deadpool was killed in an explosion fighting the aristocratic and telepathic villain known as the Black Swan. Weeks later, a mysterious figure showed up at the apartment of Deadpool's manager, Sandy Brandenburg. The man took the name Alex Hayden, and together they started Agency X, with Hayden dubbed Agent X after the company. Most believe that Hayden was Deadpool suffering from amnesia. The title character of the Agent X was eventually revealed not to be Deadpool, and the climax of that series saw the original character restored. Simone left the title after 7 issues due to creative differences with the series editor, but returned to conclude with issues number 13, 14, and 15. Most of Deadpool's powers come from the experimentations he was submitted to by the Weapon X program. The first of them is the regenerative healing factor. Deadpool possesses a superhuman healing factor derived from that of Wolverine that allows him to regenerate damaged or destroyed bodily tissue with far greater speed and efficiency than an ordinary human. Deadpool is able to heal from injuries such as slashes, puncture wounds, bullet wounds, beheading, and severe burns within moments. His healing factor is significantly more powerful than Wolverine's, as he can regrow missing limbs and organs, and was able to recover from the Hulk liquidating everything from his waist up. His head or any other limb can be reattached using this ability, but has to be placed in the proper place. Even though being beheaded, Deadpool can still move his body normally. As Deadpool had cancer at the time of his gene therapy, which endowed him with these abilities, it bowed to the healing factor, so that in a sense, the cancer is his healing factor, which is why his skin is horribly scarred. Unlike Wolverine's natural healing factor, Deadpool is mentally driven to a partial extent. The next power is foreign chemical resistance. Deadpool's body is highly resistant to most drugs and toxins. For example, it's extremely difficult, though not possible, for him to become intoxicated. He can, however, be affected by certain drugs, such as tranquilizers, if he is exposed to a large enough dosage. The next power set is disease immunity. The unique regenerative qualities of Deadpool's healing factor also extend to his immune system, rendering him immune to the effects of all known diseases and infections. The next power is extended longevity and immortality. Deadpool's healing factor provides him with an extended lifespan by slowing the effects of the aging process to an unknown degree. His lifespan is extended to such a degree that an alternate reality version of him was alive and still in business as Deadpool 800 years in the future. Deadpool has established a relationship with the personification of death, and as a result has been cursed by Thanos to be unable to die. The next power is telepathic immunity. The healing factor causes his brain cells to be in a constant state of flux and regeneration, rendering him immune to psychics such as Professor X
and Mr. Frost. Professor X was able to read Deadpool's mind, but however, could not understand the chaos in it. Recently, Deadpool has not demonstrated this ability. He was able to be telepathically linked to the rest of the X-Force team by Psylocke and has fallen under the mind control of the Shadow King, but it has recently returned. Deadpool can even shrug off the Ghost Rider's pendant stare. The next power is Possession Resistance. Similar to the telepathic immunity, Deadpool is able to remain in partial control of himself while supernatural beings are trying to take control of him. During Zaffin's attempt to take control of him, Deadpool was able to fight for control of his body. Because half of his soul is owned by Satana by rules of marriage, no one can touch his soul. Deadpool can even remember Spider-Man unmasking himself as Peter Parker during the Civil War, although Mephisto erased that event. The next power is Peak Human Strength. Deadpool possesses great, though not unnatural, physical strength. However, he does have at least the strength of an Olympic level weightlifter. He is capable of lifting at least 420 pounds, but no more than 800 pounds. The next superpower is Superhuman Stamina. Deadpool's musculature generates considerably less fatigue toxins than the muscle of an ordinary human being, granting him superhuman levels of stamina in all physical activities. He can physically exert himself at peak capacity for several days before boredom or stress takes over, and could have possibly gone on further. The next power is Superhuman Agility. Deadpool's agility, balance, and bodily coordination are enhanced to levels that are beyond the natural physical limits of even the finest human athlete. And lastly, Superhuman Speed. Deadpool has the superhuman speed thanks to Weapon X, but he sometimes relies on his teleportation device.
The current series of Deadpool that's in print from Marvel is its third. Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan have written every issue since the first and are continuing the tradition of Deadpool breaking the fourth wall. So far in this book, Deadpool's done everything from fought dead presidents, fought villains from the 70s, shared his mind with the mind of a dead S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, and got married. And there you have it, Comicology 101 on Deadpool. And again, I want to thank Sean D for giving me that suggestion. Next week, the Comicology 101 segment will be on Batman. This one was suggested to me by Kayla Sheremy from Shreveport, Louisiana. And I'm going to try to do better preparing this one, although it's not going to be easy because, after all, it's Batman and he's been around for 75 years. And although he's one of my favorite characters, I'm really looking forward to doing some research and piecing up some information on Batman that some of it you may know and some of it may just blow your mind. All right, now let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, everybody. Up first is Supergirl number 30. Now, this is the crossover story arc with Red Lanterns called Red Daughter of Krypton, and what it talks about is Supergirl becoming a Red Lantern. And from what I've read, it hasn't been easy. I mean, she's pretty much the peacemaker of the Red Lanterns, and Red Lanterns really don't approve of that because they're filled with rage, they're filled with anger, they just want to kill. Whereas Supergirl just wants to punch the living daylights out of stuff. And for y'all who don't know, Supergirl, she's felt a lot of rage from losing from her Krypton exploding. You know, of course, in that explosion, she lost her parents, and then she's still trying to deal with an adult Superman. Of course, when she was when she and Superman were rocketed from Krypton before it exploded, Supergirl was a teenager and Superman was an infant. But Supergirl was ended up in suspended animation for years and until her ship crash landed onto Earth, and then she eventually got her heart broken not once but twice by a by this being who claimed that he could bring Krypton back from the dead, some guy named Hell, and she just couldn't take it anymore. Her heart is filled with so much rage and so much anger that Red Lantern ended up calling, and now she's well, a Red Lantern ring ended up calling, and now she's a Red Lantern. Up next is Wolverine the X-Men #3. Now they just recently found out that sometime in the future, Quentin Quire, one of the students at the Jean Grey Institute, ends up inheriting the Phoenix Force, and they've been trying to figure out ways of um, that not happening, because after all, he did start a riot at the old Xavier Institute many years ago, um, and it hasn't just been that. He's done some other awful things. The X-Men are trying not to let that happen. You know how that is. All right, up next is Justice League #29. Now, to keep you up to speed of what's been happening, this book has been is part of a Forever Evil is part of the Forever Evil miniseries that's going on in DC Books, and the Justice League have disappeared, all with the exception of Batman, who's fighting blind against certain members of the crime syndicate, who are by the way, the evil doppelgangers of the Justice League. And Cyborg was dismantled after the 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 technology that his father used to save his life ended up coming out of him and revealing itself as a villain named the Grid. And the Grid has pretty much taken over every computer, any other form of technology all throughout the world. But Cyborg, in issue #27, he awakens and finds out um, that he has no body, and that the suit has pretty much taken a life of his own, taken on a life of his own, and he wants a new suit, and he wants this suit to be less bulkier than that one, and able to do a lot more stuff than what it had done before. And right after his father, Dr. Silas Stone, and Dr. T.O. Morrow had built a new suit for him, the first thing he does is he tries to find Dr. Will Magnus. Of course, for all of you who are familiar with the Metal Men, of course, Dr. Will Magnus created them. And the Metal Men, for all of you who don't know, are 5 androids that are made of some of the most common metal in the world: gold, iron, platinum, mercury, um, tin, all that. And because Cyborg realizes that he can't fight the war against the crime syndicate alone. He needs another team. So he's trying to find Will Magnus to go to bring back the Metal Men. But I can't wait to read this issue, because this is going to be the first time that Cyborg and the Metal Men are going to get at it. And it's going to be doing a lot of kicking butt and taking names, I hope. All right, up next is Amazing X-Men #6. This is the 6th issue of the series, and it precedes the 5-issue opening story arc called The Quest for Nightcrawler. And to end in #5, how that ended was that the Nightcrawler made a deal with some. We find out the whole origin, in the story arc. Before I go on, the whole origin of these little critters that have been hanging around the Jean Grey Institute called the Bamfs. The Bamfs were pretty much created by Nightcrawler's father. Excuse me, are actually spawns of Nightcrawler's father Azazel, and they were all of them were bad, but then somehow there were a group of them that ended up being good, all thanks to Nightcrawler, and they made a deal that in order to stop Azazel, he would end up living again, but at the cost of his soul. And that's how it ended. He's a member of the X-Men again. He's back on Earth, but he doesn't have a soul. Oh, by the way, for in case you don't know, it's never a good thing to sell your soul to anyone or anything. And if you have sold your soul to something, shame on you. Up next is Uncanny X-Men number 20. This is the first issue since the X-Men went up against S.H.I.E.L.D., and let me tell you that it was not pretty. And I can't wait to read this book. It hasn't disappointed. I mean, Brian Michael Bendis has done such a great job with it. I mean, everything that he's done, whether it be the Avengers or Amazing, I mean not Amazing, but Ultimate Spider-Man, it's just been gold. All right, up next is Avengers World number 4. In previous issues, the Avengers have gone up against this scientist terrorist organization called AIM, and they have pretty much gone out through parts of the world to to destroy the world and rebuild them. And Starbrand, who was on the team with Hawkeye, Spider-Woman, and Nightmask, have they've been injected with certain things, with some kind of poison that was constructed by AIM, and they start seeing visions of their beginnings and whatnot. And in number 2, the same thing happened with one of their members, Smasher. She starts seeing the world the way she wants to see it, but then she finds out it's a trap. And now Starbrand, and in number 3, the same thing with Shang-Chi. Now Starbrand has fallen victim to it. Okay, up next is Sinestro. This is the first issue of the new series, and DC decided to give him his own book. I don't know why, but Sinestro has been one of my favorite villains in comics. Period. For some of you who don't know, Sinestro wasn't always bad. He actually started out as a member of the Green Lantern Corps, and then over time, he started becoming unruly, and then started questioning the ethics of the Guardians of the Universe, and so he turns his back on the Corps and then ends up forging his own ring. And of course, the yellow ring, that's the ring of fear. And as one of the things that he's done, other than have his own ring, he ended up forming his own corps called the Sinestro Corps. But in previous years, he's pretty much turned his back on the Sinestro Corps, and now he's on a quest to not only redeem himself, but to get his corps back. And I can't wait to read this. I mean, I feel like reading it right after the show's over. Okay, before I go on, the next books that I bought, I actually bought 6 books of the same title, but they're different. But the name of the book is a little different. And I'm talking, the book I'm talking about is, well, it was, when it first started, it was called Batman and Robin. But of course, if you've been keeping up with some of my episodes, you know that Robin was murdered at the hand, well, actually not at the hands, but at the request of his own mother, Talia al Ghul, who happens to be Ra's al Ghul's daughter. And the only reason, because she felt that he had gone soft at, after being under the, after, living and being trained under, his father, who happens to be Batman. Um, when this happened, Batman, you think he was dark and bitter before? You haven't seen anything yet. I mean, he had been on a, I mean, he was on a complete downward spiral. He kept beating folks to half to death. He had beaten villains half to death and all this other stuff, and he had been pretty much at, well, he had been pretty much getting into it with everyone in the Bat family, including Alfred. I mean, it's been Red Robin, it's been Nightwing, it's been Batgirl, it's been Catwoman. It's I mean, it's just ridiculous. And well, anyway, those issues that I bought are Batman and Two Face number 25, Batman and Two Face number 26, Batman and Two Face number 27, Batman and Two Face number 28, Batman and Aquaman number 29, and Batman and Wonder Woman number 30. Now the two previous issues that I just talked about, well, they're parts 1 and 2 of a new story arc called the Hunt for Robin. Batman had found out that somebody had dug out of Robin's grave and pretty much um, took his body, to his dead body, and Batman's on a quest to find out who it is. I think I know who it is. Ra's al Ghul. But Batman doesn't know that, and he's going up and he's going to find who did it. All right. Up next is the Superior Spider-Man number 31. This is the final issue to this book, and I am happy about it after reading number 30. In number 30, it's been found out that, in number 30, the Green Goblin has pretty much taken over New York. He has destroyed building after building. He's killed a lot of, he and along with his Goblin Nation have killed a lot of people, um, either kidnapped or brutally injured them, or all that. And this was all done without the Superior Spider-Man, aka Otto Octavius, knowing, because before that, no secrets were hid from this Spider-Man. It was ridiculous. I mean, even if you jaywalked, you were gonna get beaten up. But somehow the Green Goblin just decided to build technology that in which he would jam up destroy all the spider bots that Spider-Man created. And and in number 30, Otto Octavius had finally came to his senses and realized Peter Parker is the superior Spider-Man, not me. And Peter Parker had, his subconscious is somewhere deep in the mind of Otto Octavius, and he can't really he can the only thing that he can remember is his name, and he can't remember anything else, and live he's having to deal with Otto Octavius's memories, him growing up and all this. Excuse me. And he says, "I don't. This isn't my life. I'm not Otto Octavius. I'm Peter Parker." And so eventually, Peter regains, control, and Otto finds out, and instead of trying to eliminate him from his mind, he says, "Okay, I'm going to go off and I'm going to go and just let Peter take control. I can't do this anymore." And that's how number 30 ended, with Peter gaining control. And not only just gaining control, he took off the Superior Spider-Man's costume and put one on, and put one of his old costumes on. All I got to say is game on. Up next is Batman number 30. This is the conclusion to the Zero Year story arc. For all you don't know, Zero Year talks about when when Batman first started fighting crime in Gotham City. And in this story arc, two things are happening. First off, there's this scientist who used to work for Wayne Enterprises, who claimed that that he had a serum that kept people that that would allow people to be immune from any and all diseases, any and all viruses. But the only downside to it, it would disfigure them. I mean, disfigure them as in bones start growing and peeking out of folks' skin, and their teeth getting larger and longer and all this. And we find out that Batman is dealing with both this person and the whole threat. We find out this was all a cover up for the Riddler, who is the real mastermind you behind us all. And of course, in previous issues, he had turned out all the power in Gotham City in the midst of a superstorm that was about to hit. And so far, some people that hadn't even all the people who didn't evacuate Gotham City got washed away and killed, and it wasn't really looking good. And I can't wait to read this. This is the last issue of the Zero Year story arc. Oh, and by the way, while I'm thinking about it, I want to apologize for a few episodes ago. I had said that an earlier issue of Batman was the final issue of the Zero Year story arc, and I was unaware that it wasn't. But this issue is, simply because on the cover it said Zero Year Conclusion. All right, and finally, Green Lantern New Guardians. I'm just going to be honest. Um, excuse me. That I've been very good about buying this book, but I haven't really been good about reading it. And because not only with this book, there's several other books that I'm still behind on, but I'll try to do better and get to reading this and the issues before it, and so I can be able to let you know what's going on in this book. Okay, that's 16 comics that I bought this week, which brings the total to 6,182. Well, I hope you enjoy yet another jam-packed episode of the Comic Hero Show. Um, but all these Comicology 101 requests that I keep getting, keep them coming. So far, 3 people have come to me with some great suggestions ever since I did the first one on Guardians of the Galaxy. And it doesn't. The thing about any suggestions, it doesn't necessarily have to be a major character. It could be like probably a somebody of a smaller role in a book, or it could be a hero that doesn't have their own book, and they appear in a superhero team book. I mean, you could even if you suggested that I do one of the Thing, I'll do it. If you suggest that I do one of oh Spider Woman from the Avengers, I'll do it. Even if you suggest a villain, I'll do that too. I mean, there are a lot of villains, believe it or not, that have awesome origins that are just as great as some of the heroes that we have. I'm not above doing that. Just keep on coming. Just keep them coming. Just keep on coming with the suggestions. I will make it, and I will do everything in my power to make it happen. All right, everybody. I mean, I'm not going to go ahead and say what I usually say at the end of every episode, but just remember, I want the show to get better, and I'm quite sure you want it to get better as well. Um, I always leave my contact information. Well, the contact information I choose to give out, which is Facebook, Meet Me, and my email address, comic underscore hero underscore VN at yahoo.com. And if you have my cell phone number, which I will not give out on the show, if you have my cell phone number and you watch the show, either call or text me and give me suggestions. Um, or the best way to come, just come to me. Just tell me face to face. I believe that the whole thing about this show, about any suggestions, I believe it's kind of a word of mouth scenario. So that's why I think it would be best if you came to me person to person. All right, that's all I have for this week. Next week, the Comicology 101 segment will be on the Dark Knight Batman. Um, all right, I'm Victor Nunley. I'm the comic hero. We'll see you next time. Till then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.